Hey everybody, welcome to Season 4 of What's IGN Crushing On. I'm Caryn Solomon and I'm your host, and we're here to talk about what's hot in pop culture. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 5 of What's IGN Crushing On. Today on the show we have a very special guest, Katrina Law. So some of you might know Katrina as the amazing, my favorite, Nyssa Al'Ghul from Arrow. She was also in Spartacus and Hawaii Five-0, and she's currently in the new season of NCIS. We had such a lovely chat, she's an amazing woman, about the show and the work she's done, and she was just such a ball of energy, and I don't even know what else to say. I just wanted to let y'all know because the chat starts a bit abruptly. So this is my little intro. Here's my chat with Katrina Law. So hi Katrina, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great. It's so nice to have you on the show. I've been a fan for a while, so I'm so grateful that you agreed to be on the show.
Well, I appreciate you having me on the show. For those of you that are listening, we just had about a half hour's worth of technical difficulties, and we have managed to make it through, and we are united together on Zoom. Yay!
Oh, I'm so happy. So how are you doing? How has this strange 2 years been for you?
Oh, it's been an emotional whirlwind, from everything from being terrified to completely inspired artistically to getting by to being completely exhausted. I think I'm just kind of running pace with the rest of the world and just hoping that it ends soon and then we just move on. I think we're all in the same boat, and whether you're in the vaccination, anti-vax, mask, anti-mask, whatever camp, I think the overall feeling is just everyone is exhausted. So I think we're all ready to just move on to the next phase of our lives.
That's so true. So NCIS is really popular here. So
Yay.
What is it like to join the show after 19 seasons? I mean, I know you joined last season, but I mean, God, it must have been hectic.
It's been daunting. Well, when I first got cast onto NCIS, I was like, oh, okay, NCIS. And then I realized, oh, no, it's the #1 show in the world. And I'm like, after 19 years, it's still the #1 show. People are like, yeah. I'm like, oh, my God. And then I got really scared. So, but I couldn't have asked for a better job. I couldn't have asked for a better experience. And I had no idea that NCIS season 18/19 would be the dream job for me. When I was first cast, even the casting process was simple and beautiful and welcoming. And when I got to set, everybody was trying to set me up for success, not as for the fans, well, obviously for the fans, but mainly to make sure that I was in a position mentally and emotionally to be able to present my best self and to do my best work, which is not always the case when you join shows. A lot of times you join, they're kind of like, all right, just get on it and start moving. Whereas here, they made sure there was a cast read-through, and because of the pandemic, they hadn't done that in 2 years, but they thought it was important enough for me to meet the cast members and to say lines with them before the cameras were rolling, which is such a huge help because you're so nervous, no matter what, no matter how seasoned you are, or how new you are, you coming in as the new kid to anything, you're nervous and you want to do a good job and you want to make a good impression. And it's really hard to do that when on day one, the cameras are rolling, you're meeting the cast for the first time, you're saying the lines out loud for the first time, you're in your costume for the first time, makeup, you're meeting the entire crew for the first time. That's a lot of new to come at you very quickly. So the fact that they tried to kind of gently roll me into the process was so welcoming. And then Mark Harmon, oh my goodness, you couldn't ask for a better team leader. I feel so lucky and privileged that I was able to do 6 episodes with him, and I didn't know he was leaving the show. So when I found out, I was just as devastated as a lot of the fans. I'm like, wait, I just got here. This is not fair. But he was so wonderful. When I was cast, he was the first person to call me and congratulate me and welcome me to the show. And then when I got to the set, he was making a joke that he felt like he was stalking me, and he kind of was, because every time I went to a new room or to a new department, he was there, and he just wanted to make sure that I felt good, that I was comfortable, I had everything I needed. If I had any questions, he was there to answer any question. Nothing was off the table. If I wanted to help finding NCIS React agents or NCIS agents to train with, if I wanted any extra training, if I wanted water, whatever I wanted, he was basically there to make this as smooth a transition as possible. And because the show is his baby, and he wanted to make sure that the new girl, the new person on set was there to play ball and, kind of be ready to go. And it's a priceless experience, and you don't receive that kind of treatment often. So NCIS has just been welcoming from day one. And even the fans, I know it's so hard when you have characters leaving the show, and I'm not replacing Emily. I'm a new character, and there's no part of the writers who are trying to make me Emily 2.0 or Ziva 2.0 or Kate 2.0, and I appreciate them for that. And for the most part, the fans were very welcoming to me from day one, and willing to give me a shot and give me a try. And there are always going to be some people who go, "You're not Ziva, you're not Emily, you're not Kate. We hate you forever." Okay, I can't win them all, but I can try. So
I was thinking, that's a daunting fan base. Like, it's huge, and they're very vocal.
It's 19 years. If I watched a show for 19 years, it would feel like family would be a part of my life, and I would be just as protective over my show and the characters. So I completely understand and sympathize with them. So there's no part of me that has any resentment or bitterness or anything like that. I don't have the right to feel that way, but I understand them wanting to have someone come onto their show that carries the show on in the way that they want to, and gives them the same feeling that they've had for 19 years and adds a lovely dynamic. So I know what the fans want, and I hope that I am doing my part to deliver this to them. So I will try my best for them.
So what is it about the character of Jessica that drew you to her?
Oh my gosh. So one of my favorite, I've had the privilege of playing some really amazing characters over the years. One of my favorite characters has always been Nyssa Al'Ghul from Arrow. I love playing her, and it's because she's so serious and so stark, and everything is black and white, and she's just hardcore. And I think that's kind of what I love about Jessica Knight, is that she's almost the polar opposite. She's lighthearted. She wants to have a good day. She wants to make jokes. At the same time, though, she is holding on to a little of emotional baggage that we haven't discovered what that is yet. The writers are still in the process of writing that, and I'm figuring it out as we go. But we are seeing that she's a little protected and guarded over her heart and emotions. And she is a perfectionist, and she is very hard on herself. And I think over the next several years of NCIS continuing to run with its #1 streak in the world, we're going to find out more about Jessica Knight. But I love that as my 9-to-5 job, my personal work that I go into, that I get to play a character who, for the most part, just wants to have a good day and make sure the bad guys go away. And I think that's so lovely, to not have to be so serious and hardcore about everything all the time. And not to say that Jessica Knight isn't serious and hardcore when it comes down to it, but for the most part, she'd rather just smile and have a good time.
But what do you want to see in Jessica's future? Like, besides what the writers are working on, whatever, what would you like to experience or do?
You know what? It's funny. One of the great things about NCIS, which I haven't necessarily experienced on any other show, and nor do I think I ever will again, because they're in season 19, they're just kind of like, "Hey, what do you want to do?"
Oh, that's amazing.
I'm like, "What? What do you mean? You're asking me my opinion about what?" So to me, I think that's amazing. That being said, I'm an actor. I'm not the writer. And one of the things that I think a danger about an actor always having a say in their part is that they're going to want to protect their character. They're going to want to make sure that their character is flawless and always makes the right decision and always comes out on top and looks good all the time. And sometimes that can lead to a very boring character who never does anything wrong. And that's not how humans function. Like, I think you and I, well, at least I do, I make mistakes constantly in real life. And I feel like I'm constantly having to kind of backpedal and just be like, sorry about saying that. Sorry about doing that. Didn't mean that. Or I did mean that, but maybe I should have just kept my mouth shut, whatever it is. And I think the beauty of just allowing the writers to take the character where they want to take her, it sets it up for more drama, more intrigue, and more layers. So being how it's season 1, I'm completely open to where the writers take her because I'm curious. Yeah, I'm really curious to see where she can go and how they saw her when they created her on paper and what the dynamic is that they see. It's also interesting because this is a new character and I haven't necessarily played someone like her before, to see how it's coming across to the fans and how it's coming across to the other characters in the show, because you're not always aware of that when you're in the moment and you're just saying the lines and doing what you do as an actor. So I think a lot of what's going to happen with Jessica will be dictated by how she interacts with the team on a day-to-day basis and how the fans react to her and what they latch on to. That being said, I always want to see her kick ass. I always want to see her backstory. I want to see what her life with her mom and her dad are like. If she has a mom and a dad, I know she, you know what I mean? Like all these different stories, I just don't know what the world is that they're going to set up for her. But I'm excited. I think they're taking her in a really fun place. And every now and then they just kind of throw out these little nuggets. And I'm like, oh, that's fun and interesting. Like I would never have thought I wouldn't want my food to touch.
Personal space. Weird little
even a lunch is weird little things that like Katrina Law would never thought of. Like, oh, I want Jessica to have like weird personal issues about space. I don't, do you know what I mean? But the fact that the writers came up with these things, you go, oh, interesting. Because when people do things like that in real life, you do look at them and go, why? What is that about? So I'm curious to see where they can take me. So therefore, I can figure out where I want to go eventually.
I love the scene where she's saying she wouldn't share a password with her husband, and then not to spoil whoever hasn't seen the episode, but like when something happens, she's like, "That's why," and I'm like, "So true. I get you, Jessica. You mean?"
Again, one of those personality quirks where, I'm married and my husband knows all of my passwords and even my fingerprint ID. He has a fingerprint ID on my computer. So everything is kind of open. And I view marriage as, why would you ever get married to just kind of not completely integrate? That's my personal view. Whereas I do have friends that are like, I would never share my bank account. I'm like, this is why you got divorced 5 years later. But whatever. And then other friends who don't share and they're still married and fine. But like everybody has their own personal thoughts. And I think it makes me wonder, was Jessica personally burned by an ex? Did she watch her parents go through a divorce? Did a mentor tell her never to share things like that? Where did she get this idea? Where did it develop? I think those things are the really interesting parts about the little nuggets that the writers are throwing out there. And I think it's so fun because you don't expect a woman on television to be like, no, I'm not sharing my password with my husband. What? And the fact that they had Torres being like, what do you mean you went? Torres is like Mr. Closed Off. And you're like, you would share, but Jessica wouldn't? I think that was funny. So the writers come up with great little nuggets and details that you would never think of yourself, and I think that's the beauty of the team.
I love the dynamic and the chemistry between Jessica and Torres. Love it. Oh my gosh.
I have Wilmer, who plays Torres, is just wonderful. What a wonderful human being. He functions as a mentor and my overbearing older brother to sometimes all of a sudden he switches gear into the annoying younger brother and you're like, what is happening? But I love working with Wilmer so much. I think he and I get along really well. I love one of my favorite things about him is he's so available as an actor. When we're working together, it's like the window, like his soul is suddenly available for me as an actor to play with. And I think that's very rare because a lot of times, actors, they're still closed off to certain people, and it's very hard to see them and reach them. And he's just so open and so available, and I think he and I have some really beautiful scenes together. So it's I think the audience enjoys our dynamic as well, and I think we come across as the competitive, bickering yet loving brother sister combo.
Yeah, I get that too. Like, oh no, with him moving your stuff all the time, I was just like, it's the best. I love it so. So I did actually want to ask you. So I myself, like referring to what you said earlier, but I was a big fan of Nyssa. Like, she was by far my favorite Arrow character. Like, not even a secret. But with Nyssa and Sarah being like so iconic because they were the first LGBTQ couple in the Arrowverse, like, how important do you think it was telling such a story?
I think it was such a huge moment for the LGBTQ community. Representation is everything. And I think it's been hard enough for women to get representation in the superhero world, being outside of the woman who needs to be rescued by the superhero, or the woman who gets killed so the superhero has his revenge story. To suddenly see all of these female characters come to life and kick ass and be great at it and be good and bad characters, I think was a huge moment. That being said, representation is everything. And I know there are a lot of LGBTQ community members who struggle with self-worth and self-acceptance and suicide. And a lot of that has to do, I'm not going to pretend to be a psychiatrist, but I think a huge help with that is knowing that they can turn on the television now and go, oh my gosh, here's a hero who looks like me, who loves the same way that I do, and they are accepted, and they are mainstream, and they are viewed as heroes and uplifted and celebrated. And to know that there are now these characters out there in the world that exist, that gives them hope and gives them something to hold on to and gives them a feeling of community, I think is so important.
So if you had to play any one of your like iconic characters again, who would, like, for revival, who would you want to don on the clothes again?
Nyssa Al'Ghul all day long.
I really love Christmas with the Darlings. Like, it's one of my favorite Hallmark movies. So I just wanted you to know that.
Do you know my sister-in-law wrote that movie?
Oh my gosh, no.
She also wrote Snow Bride. She's written, I think, over 20 or 30 movies for Hallmark in general, but she was the one who introduced me to the Hallmark world. And Snow Bride was so much fun that when she asked me if I wanted to do another one, I said, yes, of course. And then we did
So did she write it for you?
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh, that's why I felt so, like, perfect. Oh, no, tell her, please tell her that I'm a big fan. She doesn't know me, but I'm a big fan.
Her name is Tracy Andreen. She's a lovely, lovely woman.
Oh, it's amazing. But so this is a question we ask everybody, but who was your first celebrity crush?
Marlon Brando.
Wow.
Named Desire.
100% understand. I understand.
Pretty hot. I mean, not the abusive part. But he's still pretty hot in that. Except when he's yelling. I mean...
But sometimes even when he's yelling.
I mean, he's so pretty.
Yeah.
Just kind of like, all right.
And that, like, that short sleeve tight t-shirt thing you wear.
So good. So good.
But Katrina, thank you so much for joining us. This was really lovely. I had a lot of fun.
I'm sorry about all the difficulties.
No, I had so much fun. Like...
Well, hopefully we can do this again. It will be smooth, uninterrupted, and it will all be good.
Yeah, one day in person we'll do this, and we don't have to worry about technological problems. But
okay.
Well, thank you.
Lovely chatting with you. Thanks for hanging in there.
Bye. Thank you so much. That was our chat with Katrina Law. Katrina, you can see in NCIS, which is Saturdays at 7:30 on Mnet, channel 101 on DSTV. That's all from us this week, and we'll catch you right here next week, Tuesday. Me, you can find at Caryn Welby on Instagram, at Caryn Welbys with an S on Twitter, and sign up for my newsletter, Wilder Streams, at wilderstreams.substack.com. The podcast can be found at Crushing On Pod on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. You can find us at What's IGN Crushing On YouTube, and you can find more information about this and all our other episodes on our website, crushingonpodcast.com. Send any feedback to mail@crushingonpodcast.com, and you can send us voice notes at +27 78 362 2566. Join our Facebook group, Crushing On Club, where we chat about the show, celebrity news, recommendations, the whole shebang. The show is produced by me, Caryn, as well as Rebecca Barches and Leanne Phillipson. The show is edited by Rebecca Barches. Our logo was designed by Nathifa Maroof, and the show was created in partnership with IGN Africa. If you like the show, tell everyone that you can, any way that you can. Keep up to date with episodes by subscribing to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Please rate and review the episodes on Apple Podcasts, as it helps others to find the show. We'll be back next week with another in-depth conversation with a pop culture lover. See you then.